Welcome back to Shop Talk with Mr. Lang. This week we will be talking about making different things out of different materials. And this week we chose to make a surfboard out of that beautiful agave plant. So let's get started. So the agave plant, Agave Americana, this one's called, and this is kind of a baby. It's a smaller version. When they get really, really big, like the ones that I showed you earlier, they can be bigger than me, and they grow for about 30 years, and when they grow for 30 years, then they send up that big center stalk, and then they actually, that's the end of their cycle, they die. So it takes them about 30 years to do that whole process, and the growth, they can go up to 30 feet, and they can do that in a little over a month. So sometimes they'll grow over 2 inches a day, which is just humongous and fast. The first thing you have to do is find an agave plant that's bloomed like the one in the background here. That's a fairly good size agave. They're kind of green right now, and we need it to actually dry out so that there's no more moisture inside, and it's really dry, and it becomes very, very lightweight, almost like balsa wood. So once you find one of those, then you can go ahead and cut one down, and then I'll show you how we make from that stalk into this board. Let's get started. Step number one in the process is finding a board that you want to recreate. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of these. What we need to do is we're going to trace the half of the outline onto a piece of masonite, which is kind of the stuff they use for skateboard ramps, and we're making what's called a template so that we can use that to trace onto the agave and cut it out and make the surfboard shape. So I'm going to trace it using my pencil, making sure it's straight up and down and going around nice and even, making sure everything is just straight up. We do this in the wood shop making skateboards all the time, and we'll finish like so. And the next step is going to be to cut it out. So we've cut out our template. Remember, this is going to be half the board, but if you flip it to the other side, you've got the other half. So they make two identical sides or symmetrical sides. So this is going to be for the outside of the board, and this is going to be for the actual curve of the board. Like if the board is going this direction and I'm holding it and looking at it and surfing it, that's called the rocker template, which is nice and small, which allows me to put it onto the pieces of agave, which I'm going to show you how we cut right now. So remember in the last video we milled a big giant tree. Well, this is a smaller size tree really, so we did the same thing, just laid them right on the bandsaw and made two horizontal cuts. And what that does is then it gives you a piece that's kind of waste on the top. We might use it later, but this is what we're looking for, and this is the part that's going to have the rocker laid on there. And so when we draw that on, it looks something like that. So you can kind of see where I laid the template on there, and that's going to give me the curve in each individual piece. And when we put them all together, we're going to need to have exactly as wide as the board. So this board's about 22 inches, and these are anywhere from 2 to 3 inches, so we're gonna need probably at least 10 of them. And once we do that, we're gonna start cutting with the bandsaw. Remember how the other bandsaw I had was horizontal for cutting the cuts this direction, and now we've got a vertical bandsaw for cutting out the shape. So we're gonna get it started and go right through. So from there, we've now got that cut. Then we'll do the bottom cut. And then we'll repeat about 12 more times. So we've used the bandsaw and we've cut each individual stringer. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It took 8 of them to put it together. These clamps are just holding it together now without glue, because I'm gonna get it all set up and organized, and then I'm gonna glue it, which I'll show you in the next step. But wanted to see if it would fit, so this is what it's gonna look like. It's gonna have that outline on that side, and then I'll just flip it over and then go ahead and cut that side out too, and you'll have the whole board. So there's our next step. Here we go. So the hard work is pretty much done in terms of putting it all together for like the woodworking aspect, and now it's the actual shaping. So this is where, if you were to make a regular surfboard, this is kind of what you get. You get what's called a blank, and you start shaping the thing down. So this thing needs some work. You can obviously see it's kind of square, and it's got some ups and downs and little parts that need to be added to. I need to add a little tiny piece there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start to shape it. This part takes a while, so we need to make it just perfect, and we'll be planing it and rasping it, sanding it, making it just right, kind of shaping the whole board down until we feel like it's exactly where it should be, and then it will go to the stage of glassing and putting the final coat on the outside, and then it's going to be ready to surf. So I'm super excited. It looks beautiful. I love how the colors came out, and you can tell it's pretty similar to this board, so it's going to be a really nice one. I can't wait to ride it. So here we are at the end, putting a little wax on the deck to make sure that our feet can stick when I go take it surfing for the first time. It came out beautifully, beautiful coloring in the wood. And now, in honor of Earth Day, we'll hike this thing to the beach.